Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Timberborn, the Permadeath series. We are focusing on that robot district. It's kind of against the whole idea of a Permadeath series, that robot area. It's got a little bit out of control, and it gets even crazier on this episode. I have no idea if they're going to build it because I really need to start focusing on looking after these beavers, and we don't have a lot of water storage still. But what we are focusing on is that build in the center. That's going to be critical for us to get working because all of the pumps in the middle are taking so much water out of Reservoir 1. It's not even getting up to the level for Reservoir 2 to start working. Something I didn't really think about when I built that water pumping station on top. But more of that later. It's just amazing that we're still alive and heading into a new water cycle. So let's jump in and take a bit of a tour and celebrate where we are. Now, where we are is designing Reservoir 3. Reservoir 3 is this ginormous tank, which is going to help us save more water. Then we have the water pumps at the front and our food district over there at the side. And of course, the metal district, which is still needing to be finished, but it is starting to provide a lot of metal blocks for the colony. And not to forget that underneath, we're going to be building extract. There's like a factory that's planted and mapped out down there that we've got to build. But they've got a lot to do there before we even get to that. We've also got the build over Reservoir 1 that needs to be finished with more water pumps and more water storage. And we are still moving the power here to the new run. And that will allow me to build the rest of the water storage over Reservoir 1. But it's also another critical reason why we need to finish the pumps at the front. Because without these extra pumps now, there is no way that water is going to get up high enough to start pumping into Reservoir 2. And again, something I didn't really think about. So that's an update. That's where we are on this series so far. So now you're all caught up. Let's jump in to the insane build that is our robot district. Now, this came about because of the power wheels. We had that single run of power wheels, and I created some lore for our colony that they wanted to contain all of the bad water. So we built a level 1 of a building over it. And as soon as level 1 happened, I thought, you know what, I'll make a double decker here and have more power wheels on top of it. And that was great. It was impossible to build. It was going to take them forever. And then I thought to myself when I was filming one of these highlight videos, wouldn't it be cool? This is always a danger when I start anything in my life and say, wouldn't it be cool? Everyone kind of looks at me as if to say, oh, they're like Jeremy Clarkson on Clarkson's Farm when he says cows or a restaurant. I get the same look as well. And I thought, on the highlight video, wouldn't it be cool to build a robot district on top of all of this? And I kind of thought that robots are an end of play game. If we've got robots, we're probably building the final monument if we get that far. Remember, this is permadeath, and we are going to talk about those rules again in a moment, but for now, we'll stick with the topic. And I thought, fine, I'll build a robot district on top, and that's what we've been focused on the last couple of episodes. On the first one, we built the housing, we built the infrastructure to get beavers up here using the metro system, and those beavers are going to be there in case all the robots die and it needs to be restarted, and they need to be there to build before even the robots start to arrive. This is going to be its own district working for itself. It's not going to rely on the beavers from another district to build it, is what I'm trying to say. I've kind of messed that up a little bit with its design, but later in the series, once it's done and we start to build this, it will have its own district on the ground that we will make a temporary base, and then we will destroy that base to hand it over to this build once it's in a good place to do so. So it's kind of got like a two-phase build process on this. We then started to move into the storage and the bots buildings themselves. We've got arms, we've got chassis, we've got heads. And I'm going to be honest, I don't really know how these robots work. They're always an end game thing for me where I've built crazy buildings and the bots get built and I don't understand their usefulness, and I'm kind of hoping on this playthrough that we get there. It is a permadeath. I could get hit with droughts and die pretty quickly, and I'm excited to kind of play with these bots a little bit more, but more on that later. One of the things that was a challenge on this was power. How do I get power from below up? And I say that because you've got to remember, I wasn't planning on building this robot district on top of this. So you can see there that there's a metro line that runs on top of the power line. That really should be inverted. The power line should be on top of the metro line so I could just pipe up that electricity to the floor above, wherever I wanted it to come up to. And I tried to do it here, worked out it was impossible because the wheels were in the way, and the only place I could get the power out, up, and then back across onto the different ledge was to start it down here. So you can see me doing that. I'm building out two. I go up higher to get on top of the ledge, and I build it onto the ledge, and I run it down both sides of the ledge, not because I needed to, but just because it looked better. There's a lot on this build that I'm doing that I shouldn't, where I'm making it aesthetically pleasing. Look, it's just the way I play. If you stay on this channel and I do more of this stuff, you're gonna see more of this insanity where I'm making much prettier things than this. I normally build really cool structures with waterfalls coming down them that are powering things, and I just didn't think this permadeath series was going to turn into it. And the reason I did the permadeath series was a lot of content creators on Timberborn, they play Timberborn. They don't challenge themselves, they don't really make it hard, and that's what we're trying to do here. This series that I'm putting together is writing a rule book, and I'm going to take that rule book and we're going to build our own permadeath map. And that map will have the rules in of only one water source that you're allowed to build. You've got until cycle 10 before you're not allowed to turn the birthing pods off anymore on a drought. You're not allowed to use aquifers. You're not allowed to sacrifice beavers to fake districts. You need to control that water any way you possibly can and have them survive the drought without killing them, without blowing them up, without marooning them somewhere. And another rule we brought in was you can't blow them up with dynamite, that one of the commenters said. And I've made a new one where you can't let them die because of contamination. They are all permadeath rules that we're going to stick to. And that's kind of what this series is attempting to do, to build that map, to do that. So building stuff like what you're seeing at the moment is how I normally play on my private games, but it's just so cool. I mean, look at this thing. It's huge, it's powerful. We're now building wood planks, and the reason we're building wood planks is because the robots need planks of woods to build themselves. On the other side of this, I'm building treated. No, that comes later. I haven't worked it out yet. So we're building wood planks on this side, and on the other side of this, we've got the gears, because the robots need gears to be able to build. And then I realized, well, I'm going to need trees to cut down. And the dynamite that we were blowing up for the food district on that second level, I've destroyed that, and we're going to use that plateau to make trees, to do this, and gears. Obviously, we're going to be importing wooden logs as well, but I still want them to be self-sufficient. And the challenges with self-sufficiency with normal beavers, I normally need to put water pumps in, and where that's going to come in on the map, where the aqueduct comes over, I'm going to have to make a pool in order to pump water out of it. It all just becomes very complicated and a lot very quickly. Again, power was a problem. Where do I bring power in on this? I thought I could just connect it to those factories, but it's on a different level, so I had to create some really weird connection. And then I remembered, these are robots. They need to be charged. Otherwise, they run out of batteries. This faction needs to charge them using charging stations. The other faction, they use biofuel to keep them going. And a kind of a light switch came on in my head. I make another mistake on this as well. I didn't put the control towers in. The solution I came up with works pretty well, but the control towers makes them work faster, so I covered the whole area in those. You'll see those later. We got power to those. That wasn't a problem, but I wanted to carry on the design all the way through this build. So again, we created storage areas, and this storage is, we're going to put cogs in there. That's what's being made here. That would make sense to do that. We've got the logs underneath. We hold the cogs in here. We've got the treated plants underneath that one. And then on top of that, we've got the power station, the charging stations. And I come to another challenge of how do I get power here, because I've got a metro in the way. I like creating these builds which are complicated, lots of stuff on top of each other that's all intertwined together or works together, so you can't really see the inner workings of it, but it works. That's what you're seeing here. I actually am in love with this robot district. I think it's just so cool, the way it's coming together and it looks. And again, I have no idea if we're actually going to see it ever work, because it's a permadeath series, and at any point we could be hit by 2 droughts very quickly. You got to remember that the droughts are set to 5 to 100 days of good weather. We could get hit with a drought on day 5 at any point. And I've always played this game hard, but I've never done this. I normally sacrifice beavers on my private builds, and that's why I started doing it, and I stopped doing it quite quickly because it's a bit cheesy. But I have been hit with a 120-day drought, and then 5 days later hit with an 80-day drought, and it killed. That was the end of it. That was the end of the game. You're not surviving that. I don't care who you are. You're not surviving that. So there's a little bit of these games which are totally down to luck. And what I should be doing is focusing on the core build and get the Repopulator online as soon as possible to win. That's what I should be doing. In reality, what's happening is I'm building this insane colony that I'm falling in love with. And that's sort of dangerous on my gameplay. When we do season 2 of this, I'm not saying it's going to turn into a speedrun scenario, but I think the primary objective is to take the map on a permadeath scenario and build a repopulator as quickly as we possibly can to win the scenario. That should be the point of a permadeath, and that can be written into the playbook for it. But for now on this series, we're having fun with this. And I think what's going to happen, honestly, is we're going to end up with 2 series running on this channel. This is going to start as the permadeath series. And when we die on it, we will put a pin in it. And then I'm going to reload a save game point from it and try to get them through. And then this series will become a crazy build, ongoing series of Timberborn doing crazy things. And I will change the difficulty using the mod that I've got on this to make it easy. And we just enjoy building and we see all of this stuff being built. And then that's when we will start series 2 of permadeath with the new map and the new rules. And I think that's what we're going to end up doing, because I am kind of falling in love with this stuff and I really actually want to see it work. But more on that later. Let's get back into what's going on. We've built the district area and we made it look pretty, and we are just finalizing the power to the charging stations, and that's where we got to. Look at that. Isn't it fantastic? We have the houses on the right, we have the towers running down the center, and then we have the next section where the bots are actually built. And then the next section after that is where the wood is processed to make the planks and the gears. Then we have the new section, which is our district crossing. Not connected yet, it can't be, otherwise they're not going to build this. And then the section after that, you will notice we have metal factories and we have treated planks. Now, the reason we have that is because I found to the left of this a new mine. There is a mine to the left where we can actually make metal blocks here as well. So what does that mean? Well, that means the mine needs to be efficient. And if the mine is efficient, we're all going to need bad water pumps, and we're going to need, I can't remember what they're called. Oh, centrifuges to make the extract to make that mine run. This robot district is turning into a city. I look forward to doing more, and I'll see you in the next one.